In this video, we'll cover Tormented Demon mechanics, gear, your first trip, your second trip, and additional tips. The four mechanics are Tormented Demon attacks, your attacks, the 100% accuracy phase, and the bop. Tormented Demons attack with all three attack styles: ranged, magic, and melee. Every 10 attacks, Tormented Demons will root you in place and shoot fire bombs at you. You can dodge this attack by clicking on a square without a shadow in it. If you initially click the wrong tile, you have a few ticks to click another tile. If you don't dodge the fire bombs, you get wrecked. After the root, the Tormented Demon will switch to a different attack style. For example, if a Tormented Demon is attacking you with ranged, it'll root you and then switch to either magic or melee. We can prevent damage entirely by switching our prayer to protect from magic and stepping at least one tile away, and if the Tormented Demon walks up to melee us, we switch to protect from melee. Right here, I'm praying protect from range. I'm going to dodge the root when it comes out. I'm going to switch to protect from magic, and I'm going to watch for the Tormented Demon to see if it tries to walk up. It didn't in this case, so I don't have to switch to pray melee. If it does walk up, then switch to protect from melee. If a Tormented Demon's attacking with magic, it'll switch to either range or melee. Step one tile away and pray range, and switch to pray melee if the Tormented Demon walks towards you. If a Tormented Demon's attacking with melee, it'll switch to either range or magic, which brings us to the coin flip. Since you can't anticipate what attack style a Tormented Demon's going to switch to, you have a 50-50 chance of getting the prayer right, so just pray whatever you're weakest to. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. Life's short, so eat a ton of eggs. When starting a fight, a Tormented Demon can use all three attack styles, so you'll have to take a coin flip by praying either mage or range and standing at least one tile away to see if it tries to melee you. If it tries to melee you, switch to protect from melee. And while it's taking its sweet time walking over, think of a creative insult to hurl at it. When you start a fight with melee, make sure you step at least one tile away so that you can see whether the Tormented Demon tries to attack you with melee. Now let's talk about your attacks against Tormented Demons. Every 150 HP, the Tormented Demon will switch its overhead prayer. This means that when you get the Tormented Demon down to 450 HP, 300, and 150, they'll switch their overhead prayers. When this happens, there will be a short delay in their next attack, which makes switching gear a bit easier. When you get it down to 450 HP, it'll switch its prayer every single time. When you get it down to 300 or 150, sometimes you need a bit more damage to switch its prayer. If you suck at PVM, don't worry about paying attention to the Tormented Demon's health to anticipate when you're going to switch your gear. Just get your own prayers right, and pay attention to the Tormented Demon's overhead prayer. Next, I'll be covering the 100% accuracy phase. During the 5th attack after the beginning of a fight, or after a Tormented Demon roots you, your attacks have 100% accuracy. This means that none of your attacks will hit any zeros, and this is one of the biggest reasons why Tormented Demons are such high XP. We're going to take advantage of this in 3 different ways: spec weapons, fast weapons, and prayer gear. Bring a spec weapon and only use the special attack during the 100% accuracy phase to guarantee that you won't hit any zeros. You can also switch to a faster weapon. Because it's guaranteed not to hit any zeros, it's likely going to have more DPS than a slower weapon. I'll cover examples of this later on in the gear section of this video. And finally, this is an Ironman-specific thing because it saves resources, but it does benefit those who suck at PVM because it makes their trips longer. If your accuracy doesn't matter, because you're guaranteed to not hit zeros, you can stick on proselyte to reduce the amount of prayer potions you need during your trip. This includes when you're maging or ranging. If you suck at PVM, don't worry about this mechanic until you feel comfortable with your prayers and gear switching. Just simply enjoy the extra XP. Now we're going to talk about the bop. After the first hit of each fight and after each root, your next attack gains bonus damage based on the weapon used. I like to call this the bop, and it's a unique and very fun mechanic. The slower your weapon, the more bonus damage it gains, and this only works with crush melee weapons and heavy ranged weapons. Here's a table from the wiki showing you how much extra damage each weapon gets. The best 2 bop weapons are Darok's Axe and a heavy ballista. Those are pretty tough weapons to get on an Ironman, so some other good melee bop weapons are an Obby Maul, a Granite Maul, or a Rune 2-handed sword set on crush. For ranged weapons, you can use a rune crossbow and set it to accurate to switch its attack speed from 5 to 6. When I started killing these, I actually used an Addy 2H that I bought from the shop in Taverley. If you're using a 2H sword, just make sure you set it to crush, otherwise you won't get the bonus damage. If you're using a rune crossbow, make sure you set it to accurate during your bop. If you suck at PvM, don't worry about this mechanic either until you get comfortable with prayer and gear switching. Next, I'm going to talk about gear. I'm not going to cover mega rare or high level gear because I'm assuming that the players who have this stuff will already know what to use. The best in slot weapons for all three attack styles are of course the Tormented Synapse weapons. Some good melee weapon choices are Arclight set to stab, the Zombie Axe on crush, Dragon Short Sword, Leaf Bladed Sword, or Dragon Scimitar set on stab. For ranged, I recommend you bring your best crossbow, and for the 100% accuracy phase, switch to a faster weapon such as a Hunter's Sunlight crossbow or a Magic Shortbow, or even knives or darts because you can't hit zeros. I haven't shown any clips of me using magic yet, but it is very powerful here. However, you do need 82 magic to cast Dark Demonbane, and it's quite expensive at 2 soul runes per cast. Additionally, you need to cast Mark of Darkness every minute in order to get the full value of this spell. If you decide to bring Mage, bring your best staff that can auto-cast Arceus spells. And the final gear recommendation I have for you is to bring Proselyte, and I'm going to show you a full gear and inventory setup. For your first trip, we're going to keep it as simple as possible. Bring a Proselyte top and legs, your best melee weapon for Tormented Demons, ideally Arclight, a Slayer helmet, an Ava's device, and the rest of your gear is going to be anything that maximizes your strength or accuracy. The only 2 switches you're going to bring are a ranged body and a rune crossbow. The one-handed ranged weapon makes this easier so you don't have to constantly re-equip your defender. For inventory, assuming you don't have any Guthixian temple teleports, you'll have to bring a games necklace and a sapphire lantern to get to the dungeon. I'd also recommend bringing high elk runes, and if you're an Ironman, a holy wrench, just because this task will eat up a lot of prayer pots. You should also bring a super attack, strength, and range pot, 4 prayer potions, and the rest of your inventory filled with food. When you enter the Guthixian Temple dungeon, I recommend coming here to kill your first Tormented Demons because there's a lot of space to run around. For your first kill, find a Tormented Demon, ideally that doesn't have prey ranged on so that you don't have to start the kill with melee. Then you're going to pot up, make sure you're at least 1 tile away from the Tormented Demon, and pray either range or mage and attack the Tormented Demon. Be ready to switch your prayers depending on what the Tormented Demon does. Once you have the correct prayer, you can just chill until the Tormented Demon sends the root out or switches its prayers. When the root comes, click on a tile without a shadow on it and switch prayers based on what we talked about earlier. If you suck at PvM, don't feel bad if it takes you quite a few tries to get the hang of this. If you're ever in a situation where the Tormented Demon switches its prayers at the same time as rooting you, just stop, dodge the root, switch your prayers, and then worry about switching your gear. Over time, you'll get faster and faster at this and be able to do both at the same time. For your second trip, or when you're feeling more comfortable with prayer and gear switching, you're going to bring a bop weapon, such as an adamant or rune 2-hander sword, a spec weapon, such as a dragon dagger, and a fast ranged weapon, such as a magic shortbow or a sunlight hunter's crossbow, to take advantage of the 100% accuracy phase. Here's 5 steps to practice bopping. First, dodge the root, which doesn't matter here because this is the start of a fight. Switch your prayers, switch to your bop weapon, bop the Tormented Demon, and switch to your main hand weapon. Don't worry about going slow as you practice this, you'll get faster and faster over time.
Wha-bam!
During this trip, you should start counting the Tormented Demon's attacks so that you know when the 100% accuracy phase is. At the start of the 5th attack, if you're attacking with range, switch to your fast ranged weapon. This is when the 100% accuracy phase hits. If you're using melee, you can unload your specs. Remember to only use your specs during 100% accuracy phases. I'll leave you with a few additional tips to speed up your kills. In most setups, you'll be dealing more damage with Arclight than your ranged or magic switch. If a Tormented Demon is praying against the 3rd attack style that you didn't bring, in this case magic, use your Arclight to get its health close to 450 HP, switch to either your ranged or magic switch, get its health past 450 HP, and when its prayer switches, you can go back to using Arclight. In a similar vein, you can summon a Thrall of the 3rd attack style that you didn't bring, and it'll sometimes switch the Tormented Demon's prayer to that attack style, which means you don't have to switch gear. Good luck out there, and I'll leave you with these parting words.